have what it takes? Do you have what it takes?
Hi guys, and welcome to the Hot Seat with Priscilla. I am your host, Priscilla Moy, and we are here at our scheduled airing time on Wednesday, which is your favorite day, aka Hump Day. And as you can see, this is a little different setup than I normally have, and that is because I'm here to announce that instead of me having guests this time, this segment is going to be all about yours truly. I figured, after talking with Maria, that people should undoubtedly know who I am, what I do, and why the heck I am being a host. Because I have encountered recently, even though this is an amazing thing and I don't really care how you see me because I wear many hats, that this has become such a success that that's all people would kind of recognize me as, which is like a host, which is fine. However, there's more to me than that, and because I interact with a lot of people that I like to network with, I might as well have one episode where I dedicate to you knowing who I am. Who is Priscilla Moy? Who is this TV host? Who is this girl that I watch every single week, or whose picture I keep seeing pop up like, oh, who is she? She's just like, she's a host, right? And so I'm going to give you a reason, or at least know down in my heart that I try to at least explain who I am, what I do, and what message I want to put out there, because there's so many misconceptions, which is ironic because, as you can see in my last couple episodes of the Hot Seat, I've asked other artists what their misconceptions about them are, what their motto is in life, their philosophy, and why they do, what they stand for. So I figured I deserved an episode about me without an interviewer asking me the questions. I don't need to be asked questions. I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to tell you my journey. I'm going to tell you my story. I'm going to tell you hardships that I go through and kind of just explain me as a person, because I think, especially after this past week, the past couple of days, I've really experienced that this is something that I needed to do, because I've just been experiencing so much outside of this that I really feel like, no, I'm going to take back the power, I'm going to take back the control, and I'm going to rightfully use the resources that I have to explain to you that I'm serious about what I do, which you'll find out, and that I'm good at what I do. So, with all being said, thank you for all the viewers that are joining in. We are the Hot Seat, my new and improved show that used to be undiscovered. We are live on social media shows. I am Priscilla Moy, if you haven't heard me enough to know what my name is. Like, it's like I'm saying it like a robot. But I'm going to just start from the beginning. Okay, it's going to be a little story time. Now, what I am is basically, I just consider myself an artist. Like, as you can see, yes, in retrospect, in physical sense, I am an artist. But I say that because I don't do just one thing. I am the arts. I've loved the arts since I was young. I love fashion. I love acting. I like modeling. I love the camera. I love the physical representation of art, whether for you that might be drawing, painting, sculptures, architecture, whatever that may be. I love it all. I see it all. I'm very intuitive, and I can very much understand and see things beyond what they are. I've always had that gift. So since I was young, the first thing that I really, really, really always loved was fashion. For some reason. I can't tell you when that happened, how old I was. I don't have that memory a lot of when I was young, which you'll find out why. But what I know is I had these interests since the beginning. I would have this little sketchbook. It wasn't great. Crayons, and I would just draw kind of fashion sketches in my mind. You know, even if it was just like an outline of a shirt. It was just something that I was very drawn to. And I was always drawn to movies and being that girl in the movie, right? Being behind the camera, looking through magazines and seeing women, beautiful women, like, who are so talented. And I saw beyond the fact that she was a beautiful woman, a model in front of a camera. I saw what she was portraying. I saw every aspect of the detail of what she was wearing and how her body was posed. I was always attentive to those things. And how I grew up was, I'm originally from Chicago. I grew up in Brighton Park, and then also my grandparents have lived in Chinatown. So for the Chinese community in Chicago, my parents, my grandparents, my aunts, my cousins, we all grew up there because that's where everyone immigrated to, right? There's a lot of, for big cities, they didn't just, it's not a Vegas thing where people just go to it and they just disperse and they just live their lives, right? People go where they feel comforted, they go where they know, and they go around people who understand them. So in big cities, you have Greek Town, you have Little Italy, you have, you know, areas where there's a big Latin population, you have Chinatown. Unlike Vegas, you live there, right? In Chicago Chinatown, there was a church, there's a school, there's homes, there's restaurants, there's, you know, local businesses. People thrive and they make a life in one area, right? They might expand, but they don't stay there. So that's how my kind of life really was. And so I went to I'm Catholic, I went to a school, St. Cherie's Chinese Catholic School. It still stands today. I'm still a parishioner of the sister church. But at that time, and I was born in 93, so if you guys could do the math. At that time, it was very much, painting down, we'll get to that later. But I was very much in a school where it was beyond just being in a Catholic school. It was small enough because it was community where, you know, there was one group of people, maybe 20-something per grade, right? It was starting from kindergarten to 8th grade. And, you know, the principal was very strict. I remember that he wasn't Chinese, he was Filipino, but he was in the military. So he ran the school like the military, right? And this is a part of my life that I think I tried to black out until I got a little older and I realized a lot of my trauma came from my beginnings. And it wasn't an at-home thing. It was just life at the time, right? Things were a lot different then, late 90s, early 2000s, than it would be now, right? And so there was no woke culture. There was no social media. There was never a this is wrong, report it type thing. This was a time where you accepted, especially in the Asian culture, you accepted what you were given and the life that you had, right? And what you knew was normal. And I'm sure a lot of people, viewers that are hearing this, understand what I mean. So it was a school, and I'm grateful. I never want to seem ungrateful. I'm going to put that out there. I'm never going to complain about anything that I've gone through. This is just me telling my story. And I was grateful enough to be put in a school and with people of my culture, okay? I was being educated in a Catholic school. So we had uniforms. There was never expressing yourself. There also wasn't a time of express yourself. Everyone can be different. Anyone can wear what they wear, and it's okay. This was not that time. So this principal, I remember with his one trademark, he had a wooden stick, and he would go around, and he would walk with it. He wasn't physically disabled or anything, but he would walk with it as a symbol of power. Now, we would always start our school days, we would always have to line up in the beginning and the end of the day in height order, okay? Girls line and boys line for each grade. And then we would always have to say Our Father, always. We'd always have to pray because it was a Catholic school, and then we also had to say why am I mind blanking? The independence. What do you say? Like the thing for America. See, I blocked this out from my mind, so this is going to be a controversy. But I would definitely have to, let's just say, Catholicism and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. There you go. See, this was a traumatic time for me. So the Pledge of Allegiance towards the principal and to the United States of America, the flag of America, and then the Our Father, right? So we'd always have to start and end our day doing those things. And at the time, that was normal. Now, what made it not normal in later years was the structure. Whenever we had to go to the bathroom, you can't go to the bathroom during school. We had to wait until we had bathroom breaks, and we would line up, girls and boys, height order in order to use the water fountain and to go to the bathroom, only during our breaks. And then when we had to go to, everywhere we went around the school had to be in a file line and had to be in height order. Obedience and, being submissive towards our elders, those teachers, and the principal was kind of what we kind of were bound down to, right? It seems so, I know you're listening to this, like, this is fucking not true. And then, like, in the early 2000s, but it was, okay? So we would do that, and then during lunch, we were never allowed to bring our own lunch. We always had to have our lunch from the school, which was provided. and then we had to get our lunch, like again, in file order, in height order, and then we would have to sit in the auditorium in silence. If we talked, this principal would slam his wooden stick on the table. And if we talked, you know what our punishment, there was always a punishment. And he would make sure we knew what our punishment was. There were columns, because this auditorium was in the basement. It would hold the columns that held up the school. We would have to stand there, and he would say, you would have to look holy. And he would do it in front of everyone to humiliate you. He's like, do you want to look holy? He would stand there, and this is what look holy meant. We would have to stand there like this, against the thing, because we spoke out of line or did anything like that. And if we did anything worse than that, right? I don't know what worse can be. We were kids, right? You're literally kindergarten to 8th grade. You're children, okay? You would be sent to his office, and he had a filing cabinet behind him that had locks. It was French doors. He would lock you inside. And I know he would actually lock people inside, because I know my cousins that went to school were locked inside that thing. And I don't know if there were bugs. He would always say, there's bugs inside of there, and I'm going to lock you inside of there. But he did lock children inside of there. And so this was the structure of my school. Everyone knew each other, right? There was only, there wasn't really integrated with a lot of ethnicities, right? We're all Chinese kids or Asian of the sort that lived in Chinatown in Chicago. And so not everyone was Catholic, but we would have to attend Mass on big days like Ash Wednesday, all of those things. We would have to go there, which is whatever. I was used to that because I was a parishioner of the church. Now, because of this is when I started to really, this is important because this is all happening. But yeah, you can say, did you tell your parents? What did your parents do? This is a parental problem. I don't want you to blame anyone, the adults, because when you're children and when this is what's normal to you, you don't see a problem, right? You don't go to your home to your parents and say, oh my God, the principal has a wooden stick. When that's all you know. Everyone knows he had one. But the adults didn't have to go to school every day. They didn't know what happened inside and out, and it's not for us to tell. Because also, when you're ingrained with, if you spoke out of line, if you told that what your elders did was wrong, you will be punished, right? So there was no free speech. There was none of this whole, you know what I mean? So as a girl, you can imagine, who loves the arts, who loves fashion, who loves an identity, who loves a purpose. Doing those things, what outlet do you have? So there were outlets where we would have shows and banquets for Chinese New Year. We would go to the local restaurants that have banquets. We could do Chinese dancing, right? There's ribbon dancing. But this is so funny that I don't know how I got away with it. I would have my friends and I choreograph a song to whatever pop song was relevant at the time. Backstreet Boys was the big thing, right? We would do, I would choreograph something with my friends and we would perform it, and that was my outlet of art, right? Outside of Mandarin classes, Cantonese classes, art classes, math, all of those things that are ingrained. And then computers started to become things. And then we would eventually, as I got older, have a computer class. But and then the music class would be choir for the church, right? It was very what it was. So as this was happening, since you know everyone, you have to be friends with everyone. And I remember the abuse that I had outside of that abuse was the abuse within my peers. I was a very modest girl. I was raised that way. I was Chinese. Again, when you're in a household, and my father, I will say, he's a sheriff. He did that line of work. I was made to be obedient. I was always told what was right, what was wrong, and how to act, right? There's always order wherever I was. So I was never someone that would show a lot of, we had uniforms anyway, but I was never someone that would talk to the boys and do things that would be considered, oh my God, you're too young. And so I would have a friend at the time who was a great singer. Now, if I were to hear it now, I don't know if I would say that, but she was known for that. She wanted to be popular. Her mother was a pageant girl in her past. She wanted to be Miss Chinatown. Her mother had that stigma. Her daughter is going to have a stigma, and she had an older sister that was in my cousin's grade ahead of us. And there was always that, everyone needs to know, she was that girl, right? We didn't have that in the school, but that was, if I didn't click one, she was a click of one. But she was also my friend. So I remember, long story short, there would be times during the school where she would make sure I would feel small. She would have secret popularity contests. Everyone write down who you think is more popular and who is prettier, me or Priscilla, right? And this would be happening behind the teacher's eyes. And if she didn't win, if everyone liked me more because they wrote my name down, she would make them re-vote and threaten them if they didn't vote for her. And so I know she knew at the time I wanted to be an actress when I grew up. So she would be like, okay, here's a book. Read the lines from the book. And I would read it, and she'd be like, okay, well, just so you know, you suck. And so it was always that type of thing, but she was my friend at the same time, right? But when you're a young girl and you don't, this is what you know, yeah, why wouldn't she be my friend? Because then you don't have any friends, right? These are the people that you know. And I wouldn't say it's sheltered, but this was just the time. This is just what it was. There was no problem with it. And so there was one time, I know we were in the basement of the Catholic Church, and she would try to say, who's prettier, me or Priscilla? And because I wasn't pretty, she would have the boys physically abuse me and beat me up in the bottom of that church, right? And so now when you're a young girl, and how do you explain that? You see me now, you guys see me now, you know who I am, what I do, you see me on the show, and I seem very confident. But this was what I was built off of, you know? So as time went on, my parents decided, you know, the principal was pushed out for own reasons of his own problems with the church, and so the board pushed him out, and a new principal came in. By that time, my parents deemed the area we lived in Brighton Park, as not as safe as it used to be, and we were growing older, me and my brother. So we moved to the suburbs of Illinois, the southern suburbs in Lamont. So we went there. Now, this is my first way of being around people who look down on Asians, if that made sense. It was a very white community. I was starting in the 7th grade. So you can imagine going into a white community being how old are you when you're in 7th grade, right? 11, 12. My brother is 2 years younger, so it's a little different. But I went in there very positive. Oh, I came to school, everyone had to be friends. Everyone's friends with each other. What do you mean? To a place where there's cliques. There's a football team, there's cheerleaders, there's a dance squad, there's the emo kids, there's you can't like this music if you want to be popular, or you can't dress like this if you don't want, all of these things that I had no idea, right? Because I came from a place where if I didn't want to wear my uniform on Fridays, you could pay $1 cash to dress down. That's how and so now I'm going to school with no uniform, except for PE, and being able to express myself. So I'm going to go out, right? Like I'm going from having none of that to all of it. So I go into this school positive. I didn't realize I can't act a certain way. So I remember going in there being so like, oh my God, this is so amazing, but there was no Asian kids. And I thought that was cool. These kids thought they were cool until I realized everything they would tell me was not cool. They would be like, I've only seen Asians on TV. You guys really exist. There was maybe one black kid, but he was light-skinned, and he was on the football team. Okay, so he was okay, right? So I was just trying to be friends with everyone. I even thought this one football player was cute, and that was where my doomsday came, is when I told everyone, oh, I think he's so cute, do you think he liked me? They literally bullied the heck out of me. So I went from one type of bullying to another type of bullying, where it was, you think you're pretty enough to get a football player, and they literally would tell me, you're out of his league. And so my friends, because I'm used to this abuse, I would allow them to speak to me this way. When I know behind my back, they were only talking to me because they were so amused, because I was like a zoo animal, right, being a Chinese American, right? And so I try to be so proud of it to the point where I forced myself to forget a lot of the Mandarin I read and learned, a lot of the Cantonese I read and learned, because it made me look uglier. It made me look like I was going to suffer, because when you're a kid, school is where you have to go every single day. This is your life, right? You don't want to go to school and be traumatized even more than you were. And who can you tell about this, right? As an Asian household, your parents don't tell you, oh, let's talk about our feelings. It's not going to work for you. They care about your grades, that you can get through it, that you're not going to sit and cry. So I was a crier. Back in my Catholic school, back in this school, before, I was that kid where they would not let go of their parents' hand when they would be dropped off to school, and no one knew why. I was kicked out of classes. I had to sit outside of classrooms because I was disrupting the class, because I just could not stop crying for my parents, my grandparents. But now thinking about it as you're older, it's because the place I was in, I think I felt so much pressure. I did not want to be there, to the point where my only outlet was crying, right? And how do you tell that to an adult? When you as a child don't even know the psychology behind it, you just don't want to be there. You want to be in comfort. You want to be around someone who actually cares for you and loves you. So at this point, I was too old to be crying going to school, taking the school bus and crying. So I just dealt with it, and I didn't realize how bad it was until I looked back on it and how much abuse I had went through, and who's going to be there for you, right? Now the principals, the adults are there because they also agree with how the children are treating you. Like, I wasn't pretty, I wasn't beautiful, so what I did as time went on was, because I just decided, well, this is what I want to do. I want to be an actress, I want to be a model. by the time I was 16, right? I'm like, how else can I do that? There's a drama club. I was like, let's just accept it, right? I'm not pretty enough to be a cheerleader or do any of that, even though I was a gymnast, but no one cared, right? At this point, everything that I did was in vain. That I would have things thrown at me in the hallways, all of this stuff that I just, whatever. So I forgot about my Asian identity. I just started doing drama clubs, I started doing plays. I started to figure out, okay, if everyone dislikes me so much for what I like and what I do, I just went out. My idol was Lady Gaga at the time, and this was when she was in her meat dress era, her paparazzi era. She would do things that drew attention. I started dressing. I wore heels every day. I would over-accessorize. I would over-eyeliner. I would do things purposely to be like, okay, you think that my fashion's crazy. You think I'm crazy. You think you hate me already. Everyone hates me already, so why not just give you more reason to hate me? As long as I'm fucking doing what I want to do, I'm going to do it. So I would be that girl who would I was before my time, right? So I would just wear sequins leggings. I would wear lace bodysuits with leather leggings and a belt on my waist, right? Studs, half gloves, things like this on purpose, and everyone hated me. And then this is when I started to realize friends at the time would just, talk crap to my face, but then go out and buy thigh-high boots because they wanted to be me. But I just started doing drama club. I started going out of state to plays and started going in theater. And because I wanted to model, no one was going to look at me. I'm 5'2", no experience. This Asian girl who looks like a misfit, walking into an agency to go be a supermodel. At the time, Victoria's Secret models like Adriana Lima, Candice Swanepoel, all those female models were huge, and those are women that I looked up to. Candice Swanepoel probably was the biggest one. I would look at these and I would be like, I want to be her. Not just to be that beautiful, right? But to do what she does that captivates a photo. So because of that, I just started to network around the southern suburbs of Chicago and network with photographers and started to get myself in front of the camera, right? Because everyone hates me anyways, right? So anyone words would be whatever. So I started to do that. I started to do all the plays, and I started to do out-of-state plays, things that would introduce me to college life. Now, because I dabbled in this, it did not sit well at home. My parents never stopped me. My dad, because of what he did for a living, was very more protective. Because this is not a place where, listen, it's like I'm soliciting myself. I can get myself in positions. No one in my family does the arts. They don't do entertainment. They don't do media. They don't even do theater or physical art, right? So while this is happening, I'm in art class, and I realized, and this is an introduction to what this is, of how great of a painter I was, right? So all of these I have done, and so during this high school time, I'm gonna say, I did this, it's what is called a triptych. It's a painting that spans 3 different canvases, and it equals 1 photo. So at the time, I had visited Vegas, and a lot, and I just loved the city, right? So things obviously have changed now. And so I did this painting back then. I was 14 or 15 years old. And so I brought this, even though it's not my best now, is because I wanted to showcase how far I've come. So I would just do these on the side. Now this was my one outlet where I felt like, oh my God, I'm good at something. Because there was a result, right? I did it, and then there was a result that you can see. So I got recognition, and I finally felt for the first time in my life that I can actually do something that people can be like, oh my God, you're actually good at something. You know, where the drama club, the modeling, that was all just I still had to kind of do it behind closed doors because there's so much hate coming from that feedback. So as time went on, my main purpose when it came to modeling was try to be like those supermodels. And it was try to make an emotion in a photo if I'm okay with the result. So I would do these pictures, I would learn what it's like to be in front of the camera, and because of my fashion, I was able to come up with so many ideas, styling ideas, think outside of the box. And I worked hard to make sure that after every photo shoot, what else can I do? How can I do it differently? So I would study. I would go home and I would study magazines, editorials, models that I looked up to and seen the growth and how they look different in every photo for an editorial. Obviously, they had a team. They have a makeup artist, a stylist, fashion stylist, wardrobe. There's how many photographers behind the scenes. But at that time, I'm like, well, how can I do this myself? Because I can't walk into an agency and having them look at me and then give me, yeah, you're good. We'll do a test shoot right now. I don't have that liberty. So how can I do it? So I just networked, did photo shoots, made sure that I was critical of myself every single time. While I was doing this, I was in school plays, and I knew that I wanted to go to school for acting. And I remember auditioning for like New York Film Academy, but then also universities that had a great theater program. I eventually got into Illinois Wesleyan University, which is in Bloomington, Illinois, all the way south, right next to Illinois State. And they had a big theater community where it was very reputable. They had an intensive program while being a private college, so it's not like a film school. It was an actual university, 4 years, and they had musical theater, they had a BFA acting, they had BA in theater arts, and they had BFA design tech. And this all centered around the stage. So what I ended up doing was basically I got into their BFA acting program. I went to school, and this was in 2011. And I always knew my love was for the camera. Whenever the camera was on me, it would be turned on. I wanted to be the one in the films. I wanted to be the one who would do movies, commercial, television. My heart was not to be on a stage until I retire. I didn't want Broadway. I didn't have local theaters. I didn't want summer stock. I didn't want to do any of those things because I knew I had stage fright, right? So every time I get in front of a stage or in front of a crowd of people staring at me, that was where my anxiety lies. So I went to this school, and I was even beaten down in this school. So I had not had any great friendships up until then. I had not had any people who liked me up until then. I had no one applauding me. I had no men that were interested or called me beautiful. None of this. Except my father, maybe, my family. But I go to college, and it's the first time away from my parents, and I remember I didn't understand. Like, there's partying, there's drinking, there's people getting in relationships, there's hooking up. I'm like, what? I was literally like a bird that finally was able to spread its wings and fly. I had men that were interested in me. I was so young at 18 that it was just amazing to me. So within that, I first experienced boys for the first time that were not physically abusing me and calling me ugly, but then I also was able to be like, oh my god, this is looking up. I can study acting, because even though my goal was to be a film actress, I wanted to be good at acting. My whole premise in life was to make sure I worked hard and trained to be good at my craft, or this is laughable. I'm another girl that wants to be an actress. I'm another girl that likes clothes. I'm another girl that wants to get pictures taken of her, right? So I wanted to have that intensive of acting to move it over to the camera. So I went through this intensive. I knew I didn't fit in. Again, here I am, not fitting in, because now I'm around theater kids that have their own identities, right? That are very flamboyant, that are very expressive, people who are loud, people who love to talk about musicals and dancing and ballet and plays and do performances. I never had that. So now I have this, but I still felt like something was missing. So throughout this training, I had this whole thing where it was just, the professors were always telling me, I don't know where to put you. I don't know where you fit, right? So I did not know what to do. I still felt so small. But I knew through all of that training, even though I never got the lead roles in the plays or anything like that, I was training, I was a minor in dance as well. So I was training in ballet, jazz, contemporary, modern, in choreography, dance history, all of those things. Even in dance shows, I felt like, where do I go? Right? I was learning, and that was important. My biggest dance mentor was someone who knew movement, knew how to move the body. So I learned how to position, and I worked on my posing this way because I knew how the body worked and the fluidity of movement. So after that, I used all of the things that I learned, incorporated it into my art. My modeling became to the point where I made sure that I would be a dynamic model. I would be known for, I would never want anyone, a photographer, to tell me how to pose and to move, because I knew that if I wanted to own and make my place in the industry, I knew that I had to be different. I had to know what I was doing, So I went out. Now my problem was transitioning from theater to film. Auditioning for those two different things are completely different, right? I was still in Chicago. I stayed home. I never moved directly out because I never wanted to be someone who was struggling on the street, having to do everything but my craft. I knew cities wouldn't make you. New York, LA, Miami, all of those cities, even though they have that there, was not going to give me a job, right? So I made sure I waited. I learned that theater, you have to wear a number. You wear a blouse. You make yourself look like everyone else. In film, you don't do that. So now back to this pain, we're going to refer back. Loved Vegas so much, and my family loved Vegas so much that they knew they wanted to have a place out there one day. So finally, when I have had enough of knowing Chicago is not the place for me, I don't fit in there. I was trapped, even in my household. I needed to do things on my own terms, finally take everything I've learned, my portfolio for years, my degree, my knowledge, and know that if I wanted it, I'm going to take it. I started looking with my parents for places in Vegas, then decided to build. In 2018, I signed the house that I had built all the way in here. Moved out here in April of 2019. The minute I moved out here is when things all of a sudden started happening for me. You know, ever since then, I came out here already with a plan. I didn't have a plan because at that time in 2019 versus Vegas 2023, like, I didn't know what was going on. No one talked about Vegas as a Hollywood. No one talked about Vegas as somewhere where dreams can happen for you, right? They talk about the drugs. They talk about the Las Vegas Strip. They talk about strippers. All this stuff, alcohol, bad gambling, all of these things that people go for 2 days and then they go back home and pretend their life, and it never happened, right? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I came here alone. And I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to make it happen. I looked up agencies. I looked up photographers. I just spoke to everyone as much as I could so they can even look at what I can do to even give me a shot, because no one here knew me. I started networking, but I will say all the things that I've done, and you'll be seeing my work behind as much as you could. A lot of these photographers, unfortunately, the dark story behind a lot of this stuff is that they don't talk to me anymore. I have burned so many bridges over the time because they could not live up to the expectation and the level that I had. I would do shoots, they would collab with me, but where's my stuff? They can't edit because this is going on with their life. I have learned, if anything, I have learned to gain confidence. I'm confident now, I know my work, I'm confident in it, it's become my thing, it's my passion, and I own up to it and I know I'm good. I finally overcame the mountain of being modest, and because I never want to look conceited. I never want people to be like, oh, she's a diva. She's someone that's obsessed. She thinks she's so good. But here's the thing. I now have looked over since I started when I was 16, and when I came to Vegas, the first thing I did was say, Priscilla, you cannot be quiet anymore. If everyone's going to notice you, you better freaking look at your work and say, you are good. You are good enough to walk out there and say, this is what I do, and you want proof, I'm going to show it to you. So I did that. And I was maybe, when I moved here, 25. And after I did that is when everything happened. But that draws, and this is where the biggest anti-Moy comes in, is it will draw even more negative things. And if I have gone through everything in my life, finding any amount of success and finding a name out here has actually made me go through even worse things. Jealousy, clout chasing, because social media is now a thing, right? Clout chasing, fakeness, superficial, shallow. Everything that I never had that I wanted, I can have now. Reputation, recognition. However, with that, I lose human connection. I lose people that I can trust. And when you're alone, and it's fine, but being industry smart can only get you so far, because you may be aware, but you're already in deep. So with these photographers that you might see, not all of them, a lot of them have so much of my work they refuse to give me, because you know why? They have problems. They have personal issues. How dare I make it about them? When they had agreed to shoot me, and in turn, I'm trying to do what I can to help everyone else. But when it comes to them having to actually do their part of the work, they refuse to keep up their end of the bargain and make me look like a villain, because it either shadows their insecurity or their lack of work ethic, right? For example, all these shoots that you're seeing, I have styled. I did my own makeup, provided my own clothes. The concept I did myself. All that person had to do was press that button. Granted, a lot of them are more well-equipped than others. They have the lighting, they have the studio, they have bigger name. But a lot of these people, I came knowing how to post. I did everything. I even chose locations sometimes, concepts, went out there to do it. All I had to do was show up and do this and retouch. But when it came to that part, I don't have it. Short films that I would do, where are my films? That's the question I have to ask people of Las Vegas. On sets, things would happen. A woman gets insecure. They start attacking me on the set. They start calling me out, making sure everyone gangs up to hate me. When all I did was show up and do my job. Because as you guys have known, I think you got the hint that I'm not sugarcoating, because if you were to work with me, you know this. I'm so practiced to be by the book when it comes to work. I show up at that time, I come prepared, because in theater, if you don't come prepared, your lines are not memorized, you are not ready to work, and you literally suck because you forget the blocking, you forget all of this stuff, you will literally get scolded until the end of time. You will be embarrassed. So I don't come to sets unprepared. I have what I have to bring. If you say I have to bring wardrobe, I will have 10 options. If you say I have to arrive 15 minutes early, I will be there 30 minutes earlier. My lines have to be memorized. The whole script will be memorized by then, with character development, blocking in my head, and questions that I already know to ask the director. People here don't do that. In film, they don't do that, and it's different. However, I know at least I don't ever slack on my end. Right? I will never half-ass any job I do. So when I'm on a job, I sit there quietly, wait for people to tell me what to do, because I know the directors, the producers, all of them are here, and I'm just, let me know where I go so I can do my job. They start hating you to the point where, like, you don't even get your pay, your full pay. They try to take you to court. They try to get you killed because they hate you, because I'm a diva, apparently, and I cry on set. However, I'm a woman of principle, so if you abuse me in any situation now, I know I have a voice that I will call you out on the spot. So I called executive producers out on the spot, and you know what that has made me? Almost murdered. Like, it's become to a point where the stress, and I say this because I need people to see that if you're one of these people doing this, stop it. Get some help. I don't know what you need, but it's not welcome here in my life. I'm going to read energy. I will see you if I refuse to work with you. If I don't like you, you will know. And luckily now that TV hosting has become a new thing of mine, but I'm able to meet more people in the industry, I will have to say that I don't want people to identify me as what they want to. Like, I get people ask me to this day, what do you do? Oh, are you really? Do you really? And I don't want to take on my Instagram. I need to take on my website and show you. Just no. Or even if you have the stigma of, oh, everyone's an actor, everyone's a model. You know what? Don't ask me. You know what I mean? Just, hey. Learn to accept the arts. And if everyone tells you an actor or model, maybe don't, it's true, don't believe them. But you believe the wrong people. You believe people who ain't shit. You believe people, I'm to the point where they don't want to hire me as a model. I made it to the point, I told you, outstanding performance in front of the camera and modeling and acting. But now, instead of hiring me as a model, they will hire me to pose the model they want to hire, because they want them to pose like me, but they won't hire me as a model. Friends will copy me and get success over it because they know if they're with me, it's reputable. They could copy my poses. They'll get jobs from those pictures that they copy the poses to, where I still stand unwanted. Agencies will submit me to what they want to submit me because they don't think I should be doing that. I belong in nightlife. I belong to be doing hosting. Like, not this host, not TV hosting. Hosting like, hi, welcome. No. I deserve my right and my name to be who I want to be. So everyone who's out there who's watching, stop it. Stop it. If you don't like me, you don't like me. Don't try to diminish me. Don't try to belittle me into being an elevator hostess and then not submitting me to the big commercials. Because guess what? Since then, I've been invited to the Grammys, the Billboard Music Awards, the Academy of Country Music Awards. I am the principal in the Hotels.com commercial advertising, Las Vegas. I just worked yesterday with Mark Wahlberg, and I have my scene with Mark Wahlberg. I was cast in Ben Affleck's commercial, which I was the only one to get a picture with, along with J-Lo's mom, along with Shaq. I have a movie out on Netflix where I am the lead. I am here, there, everywhere, while holding a degree and proof that I am trained in what I do, along with actually making physical art. And I also am athletic. You know, I was a gymnast, I'm a dancer, I do HIIT workouts, high intensity interval training. You know, I can do all of these things and it all incorporates into one. And now I'm a TV host. So don't try me on the streets, because I know you are. And I'm also a fashion icon. So one day you might be wearing my line, and I will laugh at you, because guess what? You were the one who threw stuff at me in the hallway. You were the one who tried to take me away from Las Vegas and kill me and take me to court saying that I lie, and all I do is cry on set so men can coddle me. Do you really think after all of that you think I need men's attention? I'm just going to ask you. So if you're ever sitting there thinking I need validation from you, I need validation from men, you heard my story. Is that really true? Well, that's all the time I have for today. So as per usual, I am your host, Priscilla Moy. Do not forget that name. And you are watching The Hot Seat with Priscilla on social media shows. If you want to follow me and see if I back for everything up, my whole resume updated. There's too many photos. There's like thousands of photos of me on there, so I can't put all of them on there. My resume, my reel, my modeling portfolio, my commercials, and About Me section is on PriscillaMoy.com. P-R-I-S-C. Do not misspell my name, because I swear to God, I hate when people say me as Priscilla. Is with an S-C. I-L-L-A-M-O-Y, like Priscilla Presley.com. My Instagram is also Priscilla Moy. My Twitter is Priscilla Moy. My Facebook is Priscilla Ashley Moy, because that's my middle name. Everything, you Google me, you'll find out. That's all we have today on The Hot Seat with Priscilla. I will see you next week, where the attention will go back to my beautiful guests. Bye.
Dollar Loan Center wants to give back for their 25th year in business with free loans. No fees and no interest for a full week on all new loans taken out for the holidays. It's a great way to try us out. Consider it a 7-day trial period, and you don't even need to drive. You can get up to $5,000 in around 30 minutes at don'tbebroke.com. Once approved, we have instant funding available right to your debit card. Fast, easy, and free for a week anyway. Nice. Happy holidays from DLC. If you've ever thought about trying out Dollar Loan Center, now is the time. We'll be offering free loans to all new customers this holiday season. No application fee, no prepayment penalty, and we're throwing in free interest for a full week. You don't need a checking account or great credit. We process loans up to $5,000 in around 30 minutes. We have instant funding and cost about half of the competition. Get yourself plugged into the DLC this year. You'll dig it.
Too much fun. Too much fun on this skirt right here. That's another one for church. Going to church, singing the choir. Here's another good little skirt for you. All right? Now wait till she turn around. Now that might be a little risky, but you got a pair of tights. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. I got the vest going with it. All right? That's too cute. In fact, I want that. Put me down.
I'm a Vegas hotel. I know what you're thinking. It's cool. I don't want anything long-term either. Just a few nights of fun. I'm looking for someone who will let loose, dress up a little, see a show, order the steak and the lobster. Some people say I'm excessive, but who cares? I just want to enjoy some late nights and some very late checkouts. Think you can keep up?
Welcome to the club.
What you say?
It affects your feeling.
What effects?
All that vaping. Those effects.
I don't vape.
Those women you slept with, they're all vaped. Right? Yeah, you vaping poison.
Not yet.
Sold you out. Some world-class assassin you are.
Go!
Are you okay to drive?
Perfect record, no one crash.
Yet.
Dude, I've never hit anything.
Yet.
Please, nothing's ever happened to me.
Yet.
No one's ever had a problem with me before.
Yet.
Dollar Loan Center wants to give back for their 25th year in business with free loans. No fees and no interest for a full week on all new loans taken out for the holidays. It's a great way to try us out. Consider it a 7